5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the penultimate episode of Park Week, a series of reviews dedicated to every film in what is perhaps my favorite franchise of all time, Jurassic. Today, as you can probably tell, I'm at the beach. I'm not going to say which beach, but I have a special guest with me. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, how's it going?
And today we'll be talking about the 6th entry in the series, Jurassic World Dominion, from 2022. Obviously, this is my brother here with me. He's been on a few videos before, but I wanted him here for this special video because, well, we have a little bit of a shared history with the whole Jurassic thing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with the series, kind of what the franchise means to you, and sort of your thoughts on each entry basically leading up to Fallen Kingdom.
So a quick, interlude on my experience with Jurassic Park. I would say, in my opinion, me being a little older than Miles here. Is that okay to say Miles?
No, that's fine.
Okay. I grew up with Spielberg movies and, the heyday of Spielberg movies. And I would say Jurassic Park, to me, was one of the last great Spielberg movies. And as a teenager at the time, it really, I wouldn't say it inspired me, but it was definitely a lot more than what I expected when I heard about it.
Yeah. That's great. It really is great. And so the reason why I have him here with me is because obviously we'll be chatting about Dominion, and we actually attempted to see Dominion around the time it came out. Do you want to detail a little bit about that experience initially?
I don't remember us going to see it.
Well,
I remember us watching it streaming.
Yeah, we watched
something like that.
We were watching it streaming.
You
fell asleep. You fell asleep. I think.
Found it online, as it were.
Yeah.
I fell asleep right after I saw scientist guy. Kind of becoming like a Zuckerberg kind of character.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was okay, but I was just tired at the time.
Right.
Truth be told, I haven't seen the movie fully, but I know Miles appreciates it probably more than most of the newer, I guess trilogy isn't the correct name of it anymore, but the newer movies, we'll say.
Yeah. And obviously, when I saw it, I did a couple videos as to my impressions on it, because I thought initially I was going to hate it because, I obviously went into all these world films hating it, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Why the hate, bro?
Well, I explained in my Jurassic World review, if you haven't seen that. I don't know if you've seen any of those, but...
Nah, I live it.
Okay, well. But no, I was pleasantly surprised by it, and I did another review of basically kind of like the extended cut of that movie, and liked it quite a bit better there. And seeing it again for this particular review, I didn't think I would have that much to say on it, because I've already discussed it twice before, and I was thinking, what's the point other than saying that, this, I believe, is a fairly underrated entry in the series. It's extremely misunderstood, and honestly, considering all that's happened, I think they did a good job with it. How wrong was I? Because upon this most recent viewing, I have 10 cards worth of notes here, and I'm going to try and get through all of them through the course of this. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get the perceived bad out of the way first, because, well, generally speaking, this is, by pretty much all standards, most people consider this kind of the low point in the series, to where they really had no idea what on earth they were doing. They ran out of ideas, and they basically just threw in everything with a kitchen sink.
Including all the cast, right?
Yeah, including basically all of the cast, well, not all the cast, as many of the cast they could get from the original film into this, and it just was kind of a mess.
You mean they didn't bring Hammond back?
They couldn't bring Hammond back.
Why not?
He was dead.
Oh.
Anyway, no, I'm gonna get some of the bad out of the way, or actually all the bad, pretty much,
I
because
thought life finds a way.
yeah, well, not in this case. So, I obviously, in my Fallen Kingdom review, I had quite a lot of choice words to say about, Franklin and Zaya, those two insufferable characters, who really should have died in the extreme, but they didn't, and, they're back here, essentially, but only for like a little bit. And really, to be honest with you, yeah, I still think they should have died in Fallen Kingdom, because, they don't really do all that much here, and they're sort of forgotten about basically halfway into the picture. So that's, I guess, one of the negatives I have with it, really.
Who directed this one? Anybody?
Oh, yes. This film was directed, I think this is the second film directed by Colin Trevorrow.
Oh, he did some Star Wars movies, right?
No, he was going to do some Star Wars stuff. I think he was going to do episode 9.
Oh, okay.
But for some reason...
it ended up being JJ.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And we'll get into possibly some things that were inspired by that experience that kind of...
You want to talk overrated? J.J. Abrams.
No, I agree. I agree, definitely. But no, kind of sort of his fallout with that may well have influenced some of the things in this film, which we'll get into here later. But, yeah, Colin Trevorrow directed it. I didn't mention his direction in Jurassic World, mainly because, well, I was sort of...
You hated Jurassic World.
No, I didn't hate it.
You hated it.
Okay, back then I hated it, but right now I think it's not a film for me, but at the end of the day I can respect it for what it is, what it did, and, it achieved its goal. And that very much is commendable. Thank you. And anyway, let me get the bad out of the way first. The movie itself, cinematography-wise, is perhaps a little bit dark in places for my liking. Maybe it's just where I was seeing it, the television on which I was seeing it at the time. You kind of sort of wanted to brighten up a little bit some scenes there. But really, that's sort of a nitpick at the end of the day. Of course, you know me and the faithfulness to certain models of dinosaurs. That was a big issue that I had with Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, how they couldn't make the original T-Rex look like the original T-Rex. A Parasaurolophus in here is slightly different from what it looked like in the original trilogy, but, that's somewhat unavoidable there. The whole redemption arc with Dr. Henry Wu, the Asian scientist as you were talking about, while, yes, I would prefer him to have died as he did in the novel and be eviscerated by raptors, it kind of works well enough given the circumstances. They really couldn't do anything else with it because they sort of essentially assassinated his character in Fallen Kingdom. He's kind of more bearable here, and he actually does serve a purpose to the story. It makes sense what he's doing. You can kind of sort of justify that he's not necessarily making up for the locust thing, but also just Jurassic Park itself, because he's the one who's responsible for this mess. And so, yeah, it doesn't, it works fine, but I honestly would have liked something a little bit better, but in the end of the day, it works well enough. And this is the final bad thing, the problem I have with this film, the score. Apart from certain evocations of original themes, is itself a bit undistinguished in my eyes. There's not really anything memorable in it apart from, themes from either the original trilogy or even Jurassic World. So that's all I have to say there. So on to the good, really, that this film has, which is basically everything else that it has going for it. Because I tell you, the first time I saw this picture without this guy here, I had a grin on my face. The second time I saw the extended cut, I had a grin on my face. The third time I saw it by myself, I had a grin on my face. And the fourth or fifth time I've seen it in preparation for this review, even considering what's happened of late, and you know what's happened of late, I had a grin on my face. Because really, at the end of the day, it isn't that bad a movie. I don't care what you say. It's not that bad a movie at all. And so we're just gonna kind of go through all of the notes here as to everything in this picture, I suppose. This little moment at 2 minutes and 30 seconds is kind of important because a lot of people really sort of mention the whole pharmaceutical thing and how that didn't really come into play at all in these movies. Well, 2 minutes 30 seconds, you get a little kind of video introduction into this whole Biosin Corporation, saying CEO Lewis Dodson has created a sanctuary in the Dolomite Mountains in Italy, where he hopes to study the dinosaurs' immune systems for unique pharmaceutical properties. There is also another instance in Fallen Kingdom, which I'll insert here. In Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, at 52 minutes and 50 seconds, they say there are 11 species, each with unique biopharmaceutical properties. Where indeed, these dinosaurs are studied for their unique pharmaceutical qualities. I'm sorry, I hope you can hear me. The waves here are just relentless, honestly. It's a beautiful day, but I had to get this review out sometime, so do forgive me. Some of the shots of dinosaurs in the real world, and I'm talking about the doves and the pterosaurs, the cheetahs and the compies, the mosasaur and the whales, and even at the end with the Sinoceratops and the elephants, do actually look really neat. I actually like those quite a bit, and I think they work really well in the context of the film. And in the context of the film, Opie's daughter, incidentally, she's still a part of this whole dinosaur protection group. I think that's actually been dissolved by the time that this film comes around. But, you got this line here, and I believe it's from that insufferable fellow. Are you saving these dinosaurs because they need it, or are you saving them to absolve yourself? And that actually does have some purport when you come to realize this film as a whole, because in retrospect, what this film does throughout, and this was actually an observation I made upon this most recent viewing, is that it basically atones for a lot of the sins committed by pretty much every entry in this franchise since Jurassic Park 3. And as you know, I love Jurassic Park 3, but there is a little issue in there that most people tend to take issue with, which we will discuss here very soon. And that, I must say, is indeed very commendable. This is kind of to address the critics of the film, particularly one, I won't mention his name, but he says that really kind of this film, in some ways, given the sort of darker tone of Fallen Kingdom, kind of felt like a Hallmark Channel film. And when people say that, they're really mainly thinking of the first 20 minutes of this film in the snow. Because honestly, this could just be me, but the rest of the film does not feel like that at all. And even so, given the rather somber tone of Fallen Kingdom, it's kind of refreshing to have a film that's slightly, I don't want to say jauntier, but just a bit more light-hearted and more optimistic in tone than that entry, which I couldn't care really any less about. One of my major criticisms about Fallen Kingdom is this Maisie character, this clone girl. We don't really, at least I didn't quite understand what she was, and what she was isn't necessarily all that well conveyed in that picture. But one of the things in this film that while it may not seem like it's fully addressed, people really do need to pay attention to this, but her kind of struggle with personhood and trying to decide, really, does she even belong in this world and such, and sort of Pratt essentially and Opie's daughter essentially being like sort of surrogate parents for her, honestly is kind of a nice way to sort of balance things. It actually does make something that was otherwise incomprehensible comprehensible, because you don't necessarily need to know kind of what she is. You just need to know that she isn't human. And the whole line, "You're the only one who ever was," they say it's corny within the film itself. It's not corny. It really is not corny. It honestly is kind of sweet in my estimation. And really, this whole thing kind of gives Claire a second chance at parenthood, even though I know Zach and Gray weren't necessarily her sons or what have you. They were her nephews. But really, their absence, essentially since Fallen Kingdom, is kind of forgotten at this stage. And this really gives her a second chance to redeem herself, and really, you'll come to find out that it works quite well. And on Maisie and such, when she's kind of indecisive as to really what to do in life and what have you, at 17 minutes and 30 seconds, she's looking through, I guess, a photo album, trying to figure out her origins and whatnot. There's a really nice shot of the gate from the original Jurassic Park, which I really did appreciate, and I'm pretty sure you will too, if you plan to rewatch this film again. There was some quite significant backlash when it comes to this film as to kind of the direction they were going to take this series, with basically dinosaurs taking over the world, and kind of how they really didn't do that in the end, and really these dinosaurs don't seem to be much of a threat at all. They kind of seem to be integrated into normal society, and really the bigger threat are these locusts, and they're really sort of kind of viewed as normal. I had heard this from someone, I don't remember who it was, it could have been Ahab or Guntik or one of those people, but when it comes to a lot of zombie or just disaster movies, people still are going to try to live normal lives in the midst of these rather extraordinary events. And you kind of have to put into perspective that this probably has taken place several years after the really bad stuff sort of happened with the dinosaurs. As much as I would have liked to have seen a lot of that happen, what does happen in the context of this story does work, and I always thought so. And if people just learn to accept that yes, in spite of these dinosaurs being a perceived threat and what have you, they still want to try and live normal lives, I really do think that a lot of the hate of this film will just quickly evaporate. Very much like the sea foam here that I see before me. One of the things that this film does, which really not any of the world films did, is that it reintroduces basically the original trio of Grant, Sattler, and Malcolm. What did you think of that, per se?
So again, I'm just going to reiterate, I never ever actually got to the point where I saw the three of them on screen because I fell asleep, my bad, during the Dominion.
But what do you think of just the idea of it itself? Do you think it's cheap nostalgia, or do you think
it's a little bit of a nostalgia grab?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, from what you've told me, it actually kind of works.
Yeah.
And, you know, growing up with that sort of combo, they, and when I say growing up, I just mean watching Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And Sam Neill in whatever it was, 3 and...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just 3, right? Or did he come back for World? I can't remember.
No, he was just in 3.
Yeah.
And then
But anyways, the 3 of them together just kind of, seemed to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said it worked better than you originally thought it would.
Yeah, because really, when you see them all 3 of them reunited on screen, it's almost as if no time has really passed. Yeah, they look a little bit older. Obviously, that just is
They are.
They are older, yeah. But really, Laura Dern pretty much looks like how she did in the first film. Sam Neill is kind of sporting his JP3 look with the coat and the hat and everything else. And yes, Jeff Goldblum, I'm going to say it right here. He looks better without a beard than with a beard, in my estimation. What say you to that?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But no, it was really nice to see them again. And just to add to this, Dr. Grant's speech, and I touched on this in my extended cut review, but why do we dig? Because paleontology is science, and science is about the truth. And there is truth in these rocks. Despite my disagreement with just the whole field of paleontology and my sort of warped theology about dinosaurs as a concept, you gotta admit, that's a good line. And in line with Dr. Grant as a character, and evidently he has sort of moved operations from Montana to Utah, which, if that makes any sense, I don't know, but it's just something that happened, I suppose. And when they actually get together, and the plot of this film really does get going to where they're going to try and find the source of these locusts, at 22 minutes and 15 seconds, the cardinal sin of Jurassic Park 3 is itself atoned. And if people don't realize that, they're going to continue to hate this film. But really, it is nice that they did take that into consideration, and because of that, it earns all my respect in the extreme. You want to talk about another sin that's atoned, particularly from Fallen Kingdom. Character-wise, I guess all of Fallen Kingdom sins really are atoned at 32 minutes and 39 seconds into this picture. And the reason for Blue's baby, the little teeny velociraptor beta, is often forgotten by fans of the first film, even though it is explained in the first film that these animals can basically change sex and such, and how essentially I guess she's got monitor lizard DNA and everything else, and was able to basically give birth on her own and such, which is something that I don't know if really anyone forgets, but I thought I may as well mention it because, why not? And then talking about the bridge, how she's not allowed past the bridge, Maisie's not allowed past the bridge and what have you. Is that the same bridge from A Quiet Place? I'm not sure, honestly. It looks exactly like that bridge from A Quiet Place, but I really cannot tell at this stage why what it is really. So let me know if it is that same bridge from A Quiet Place. I don't know. At precisely 31 minutes into this picture, there's a nice little allusion to Exodus, and considering that I'm actually reading through the Bible straight through, 10 chapters in the morning, 10 chapters in the afternoon, 10 chapters in the evening, that's something that really I can appreciate. It's something that supposedly a lot of these films, at least these world films, tried to work into their plot and failed at, but right here, given the context, it really is apropos, and I think is quite effective as a Christian and also just as a critic. For people who say there's no awe or wonder in this movie, and that basically it's all sopped up by the time you get to this movie, look to Grant and Sattler's arrival at the Dolomite Mountains, and how essentially they seem to be as awestruck at basically all of these dinosaurs as they were in Jurassic Park. And there's also a funny line here between, I guess, Dodson's assistant, what's his name, Ramsey, and Grant. Do you know how much voltage was in the fences at Jurassic Park? Yeah. I just thought that exchange was funny. And the Giganotosaurus, which is the big bad dinosaur that a lot of people criticize for not really killing anyone, honestly, even though, you know, you kind of don't really want it to kill anyone, particularly of the principal set, be it the original cast or really any of the people in this World Series. At some points, it actually sounds quite a lot like the Indominus Rex. And you're thinking, you know, they probably should have just went with that instead of the Indominus Rex. You know? And it took you how long to realize that? I don't know. And on to Grant and Sattler, basically going to the Bison Sanctuary. And no one's really mentioned this, but I'm pretty sure someone or other will have some issue with it. The fact that they seem to really receive Dodson warmly, even though, given the sort of nefarious character that he is, and also given the events of the first Jurassic Park. First off, let me say this. They have not seen him in the first film, and probably don't even know that those events were precipitated by him. They're purely going off of their experience of him now instead of back then. They probably had no even knowledge of him back then. You know, it makes sense, generally speaking. And also the actor for Dodson, because his character wasn't really seen since the first film. I know it's not the same actor that they had in the first film. I don't know what happened. Maybe he died or something like that. But you barely notice that it's not the same actor. We're talking about Dodson here.
Dodson.
Yes.
Shaving cream guy.
Yeah. And yeah, you barely notice it's not even the same actor playing him because in retrospect he's such a minor role in the film it almost doesn't even matter. And yes, I mentioned this in pretty much my first reaction to Dominion. I believe also in my second reaction, and I'm going to mention it here. The guy forgetting his lines still cracks me up to this day. A couple character moments, particularly with Ian Malcolm and Dr. Grant. Malcolm's introductory speech, and really kind of just a lot of the stuff that he says in this film, dare I say, it rivals speeches in Jurassic Park and The Lost World. Because if you've seen those films as many times as I have, you know, yeah, I kind of grew tired of Jurassic Park and The Lost World, obviously being my favorite in the series. I kind of did respect a lot of the stuff that they did here with Malcolm in this film. And then Dr. Grant, I don't remember who mentioned this, but the whole cappuccino scene, which it seems like everyone complains about, honestly made me laugh. You know, I didn't really have any issues with it, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, it serves its purpose. It's meant to be sort of a diversion to where, you know, they can basically get the access into the interior of this lab to get the sample from the locust, and I just realized that the last film was about getting samples, but it works far better here in my estimation, which is, again, part of the reason why I think this atones for a lot of the sins of not just Fallen Kingdom, primarily Fallen Kingdom, but basically every single sin the franchise has ever committed. And yeah, it's over and done with in like 30 seconds. And just like the Raptor Dream in Jurassic Park 3, you forget it's even in there. So really, I don't have anything bad to say about it. So whatever. The whole subplot with basically them trying to get Maisie to extract her DNA to sort of get a cure for these locusts that have sort of gone out of control and whatnot. This line here, which is, I think, really the only self-aware bit in this film, honestly. And I know that was kind of the conceit of Jurassic World, but a lot of that really either kind of just was either annoying or I didn't even notice at all. This line really did make me crack up, and it honestly speaks for the whole franchise itself. It's from Dodson here, and he says, "She's the most valuable intellectual property on the planet." I believe I talked about the Malta sequence at length in both of my reviews of Dominion, so I won't touch upon it too much here. But the animatronics in that sequence, particularly the black market scene, instead of looking cheap and plastic as I said they did in Fallen Kingdom, in truth, they actually look pretty real. Nah, they look pretty real. And I'll tell you right now, there hasn't been this seamless a blend between animatronic and CGI dinosaurs since Jurassic Park 3. They just look so good. So good. And I don't know if legacy effects were behind those or whether it's the English people again, but it's a drastic improvement from the work on Fallen Kingdom, and really, honestly, it works really well in my eyes. Oh, and for people who say that this film kind of was sort of toned down from the last one and how there's really no sort of gruesome or bloody deaths or something, I'm going to point you to a man named Rain Delacourt and his death in the black market sequence, and also an hour, 1 minute, and 21 seconds. Just poor guy. Just poor guy. Really. He's just going along, minding his own business, riding his little scooter, and all of a sudden he gets ate. Poor guy. Another example where basically this film atoned for the sins of Fallen Kingdom is the Atrociraptors, which I didn't talk about really, I don't think, in my initial reviews, but the Atrociraptors, which are indeed an actual species of raptor. I tell you, what was that?
Atrociraptor.
Yeah, what was that you were saying? How I think with Rebirth you were thinking that a lot of these species were made up.
Oh yeah, like the Dolphinosaurus, the main baddie.
Yeah. No, those are actually real dinosaurs. It just seems kind of strange because, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever the case.
No, the last one was like a mutant. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It was like a science experiment, right?
Yeah, but anyway, we're talking about the Atrociraptors. In my estimation, they are far more effective than the Indoraptor. I don't know if you remember the Indoraptor from Fallen Kingdom.
That's some kind of cannabis raptor or something?
No, it's basically the second attempt at a hybrid, but they made it far too human and just really kind of silly at the end of the day. It's a more effective use of the Indoraptor, or than the Indoraptor, in terms of laser targeting, because it's not a gun that they use. Like, you know, it's a laser rifle or what have you, heat-seeking missile, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden they get this dinosaur to attack. It's actually a laser pointer to where, yeah, you could basically target whoever it is you're trying to target and then send this raptor after them to kill them. In my estimation, that works a little bit better than Fallen Kingdom. What do you think about that?
Sorry, what?
Oh, about the laser targeting system in Fallen Kingdom opposed to here in Dominion.
Dinosaurs had lasers?
No, dinosaurs did not have lasers. Hang on a sec. Let me explain it to him right quick. I'll pause right now.
Yeah, please, I would.
Yeah, generally speaking. That and they're honestly more intimidating, I'd say, than the Indoraptor. And evidently, the woman in white, and of course, I don't know if you remember a lot about this because you haven't seen Dominion, but evidently she was in Aztec Rex. Not Bryce Dallas Howard, the raptor lady who's...
No, but you're saying she was in like
a Sci-Fi Channel movie.
Oh, gotcha.
So her career went up, I guess.
I guess you could say that. Yeah.
Which is, I guess, kind of good.
Yeah.
I still think, this is spoiler, so you may want to cover your ears. I still think she should have died, honestly. Because, you know, it would have made for a neat death, honestly. Oh, this is probably when you were falling asleep, but at 56 minutes and 35 seconds into the picture, I swear someone saw Sherlock Holmes when they were writing this movie. The one from 2009, the Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah.
Because, well, if you see the film, you'll understand why. Someone saw Sherlock Holmes right in the script. This was a line that I thought was funny regarding hybrids and how, basically, as I said, it atoned the sins of really World and Fallen Kingdom. They regarding hybrids in the Biosin facility, they say, we like to think we're more evolved than that, you know. An hour, 4 minutes, and 7 seconds. There's a feathered dinosaur for all of you scientifically accurate people out there. The Morris Intrepidus. And also the Pyroraptor, which makes an appearance in the film. So yes, they do make feathered dinosaurs for this series. So please get off my case about that. So I guess I was right when it came to Maisie being part raptor. Because again, with the whole monitor lizard thing, and basically the explanation for what she is being, I suppose, procreated asexually by Lockwood's daughter and such, and essentially being sort of a replication of her daughter, and that's sort of a trait that the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park have. I guess she's part raptor? I don't know, what do you think on that?
I got no clue.
Okay, you gotta see the movie, man. You gotta see the movie, come on. Anyway, moving on from that. Forgive me, I'm trying to get away from some of these waves because it seems like I'm just shouting into this thing at this stage. But the scene in the woods with the Therizinosaurus and Claire trying to elude it, a lot of people say that reminds them of The Lost World, in that, you know, it takes place in the wilderness and essentially there's a lot of tension and such, and it's very dark and what have you. But in truth, it didn't remind me very much of The Lost World at all, really. And in the end, upon closer inspection, what that scene accomplishes is something that really none of these world films did, is that this scene in this world trilogy feels wholly its own, uninfluenced by any of the previous films. And it's a great scene. And for that, it deserves commendation. The Pyroraptor scene. Again, I'm going to bring up the Pyroraptor, one of the only feathered dinosaurs for you purists out there. With Owen being submerged in freezing cold water, people think that's unrealistic and how really he should be going through hypothermia and whatnot and just really should be just freezing to death. Clearly, no one who saw that scene has ever met my mother. Because my mother, I tell you, once when she had left the ute uncovered outside during a rainstorm, she realized she left it uncovered, went to cover it with a tarpaulin, was being hammered on with this incessant rain and essentially freezing cold water, and did so really without flinching. She didn't register the fact that she was freezing cold until about a half an hour after she got through with this. That's realistic. I don't care what you say. That's realistic. And that just goes to show I want everyone who's seen this film to have a conversation with my mother and tell her that that scene's not realistic. I'm sure she'll give you an entirely different answer to that. I would be entirely remiss if I did not bring up this line again. Even though I saw the theatrical cut this go around, it was in the extended cut. The line that Grant says to Maisie, essentially about, her refusal to get into the tram or get off the tram and essentially escape down in the amber mines. And he says, moving forward is better than staying still. That is still a great line. And yes, while it may not be as iconic as Guess We'll Just Have to Evolve 2, it echoes the same sentiment and really ought to be acknowledged for its universality and applicability across all fields of humanity. And just another reason why, in my estimation, this film is a great film, a great Jurassic film in all respects. Again, just to silence some of the people who are just so really fastidious about these dinosaurs being scientifically accurate, at an hour, 30 minutes, and 57 seconds, someone is shut down for making the tired claim that birds are dinosaurs. Brilliant. This thing here isn't necessarily good or bad. It's just something that I happened to notice. There's an actor in here, Joel Elfernick, I believe is how you pronounce it. I know now that this is not the case, but I swear when first I saw him in this picture, I was thinking, is that Sam Neill's son? If you know what I'm talking about, and you actually see this film, you may begin to think that yourself. But really, Joel Elfernick looks very much like either a young Sam Neill or Sam Neill's son. And he certainly sounds like a young Sam Neill or Sam Neill's son, let me tell you. You know, you're probably thinking, Miles, for all the good that you cite in this film and how you generally think that it's a worthy entry in the Jurassic series, surely there's not any bits of foreshadowing in this film that you mention in pretty much Jurassic Park 1 through 3. There's surely no clever instance of foreshadowing in this bloody picture. Well, I want to point you to Dr. Malcolm's line to Dotson, where he says, Prometheus got gored, and so will you. And that is reflective of one of the most poetic deaths in the entire franchise. It just really works so tremendously well. I cannot conceive why it is anyone would have any issues with that at all. It's just, again, brilliant. Oh, in case you were wondering, an hour, 33 minutes, and 29 seconds is the first time, at least in the theatrical cut. The extended cut, of course, you have the whole prologue that's about 12 minutes long. It's the first time you end up seeing the T-Rex. And unlike in Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom and those movies, this Rex looks far more on model with the original. It's not quite there. I don't even think you really can get there without really just using old models. And I know they did use older models near towards the end, where it kind of seemed like that the buck and the doe from the Lost World were in this biosin sanctuary. But you know what? Good job on them for getting it kind of sort of right this time. That was a complaint I had basically from 2015 until 2022, and it's now vindicated. So, yeah, at least somewhat. Grant loses his hat for good this time, which is very sad because it kind of makes Billy's arc in Jurassic Park 3 a little bit pointless. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. And Malcolm, when he's trying to unlock the gate, when Grant, Sattler, and Maisie are trapped against the door of the mine, and these Dimetrodons, which really do look great, and they can't get out. Malcolm knows some really specific trivia, I must say, when it comes to trying to enter in the password. He types in 1984, and then he even types in Miles Davis's birthday, 0526. Well, I guess that gives us a little bit of an in to Dr. Malcolm's character. You want to know what else gives us a little bit of an in to Dr. Malcolm's character? The whole dog thing that I'm sure people will complain about. Maybe that explains his limp in the Lost World towards the end there. Not just sliding down the rock, but maybe towards the end there, where he's sort of limping through the worker village and such and trying to elude these raptors. His leg is sort of injured. Maybe that dog that he had, which made his, I guess, shin bone calloused, maybe there's some truth to that, and maybe it's not so silly as you think. This is a general line that Malcolm utters during the whole mine sequence, which really can be applied to all cases. Let's all try to stay positive, really, when it comes to basically any situation, but also the analyses and just interpretation of these films. Let's all try to stay positive here. Let's really try to find the good in all of these pictures and not just derogate them for not being the kind of fossilized, really stuffed thing that the original from 1993 is, that I can't even stand talking about anymore. It's just ridiculous. Let's all try to stay positive, people. Speaking on the first film, the alarm sound from the first film occurs here twice. And I'll let you find out where they occur and when. And the Dilophosaurus are seen for the first time basically since Jurassic Park. And I know they were sort of teased that in Jurassic World with the whole hologram thing. And they were heard in Fallen Kingdom, but never seen in the opening sequence. But they're actually seen here, and they are incredibly effective, I must admit. They're actually some of the more intimidating dinosaurs here. And the fact that people complain that they're easily apprehended by Owen and such, and really a lot of these dinosaurs seem to just bend to his will with this whole hand gesture thing, like eyes on me, that sort of thing. So far as I know, that's just a universal sign of peace among animals, or really just anyone. And if it works with just regular animal, why not? Why wouldn't it work with dinosaurs? Really? And the fact that he's able to suppress the glands of the thing. Yeah, it's glands. He doesn't have superpowers. He's been around these creatures before. He knows a lot about this. So obviously he'd know where to press in order to prevent it from spitting in Opie's daughter's face. So there goes your argument there. The fire locusts, when it's found that they were trying to retrieve this sample, and basically the locusts are out of control, and Dotson tries to destroy the evidence of the thing, and they end up getting released and such. I tell you, I was really reminded of Disney's Dinosaur, when they're sort of raining down from the sky as like little teeny meteorites or something, and it's actually a pretty neat looking scene, in truth. And yeah, it makes me want to watch Disney's Dinosaur again, and I may well do that here soon. It's been like 20 years, so maybe I should do it. The Giganotosaurus, like I said, that honestly, even though it doesn't kill anyone particularly, the scene where it's besieging the tower, particularly with Maisie and the ladder, oh my goodness, isn't that effective? That is, to me, so very effective. And at 1 hour 49 minutes and 27 seconds, there's a moment where it resembles a dragon. And yeah, I honestly think, yes, even though it didn't technically kill anyone, it's still an imposing threat, and not really at all like the Joker type of thing that Colin Trevorrow said it would be, which honestly is kind of absurd. But you know what? It pretty much is watching the world burn, and certainly not making a stink about it. Couple lines from Malcolm, which I talked about Malcolm in my Fallen Kingdom review, and how I basically hated him because he essentially approved of this franchise, saying, "Welcome to Jurassic World." And I said, screw that movie. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want anything to do with the series. I was somewhat leery about seeing this movie because of what he said in that movie. But these couple lines here, again, atoned for the sins of Fallen Kingdom. He says, can't get a hold of anybody because everything is on fire. And when they're actually sort of getting to know each other, the legacy characters and the world characters and such, and there's actually seems to be a moment of calm between them. Chris Pratt mentions that he was working at Jurassic World and such, and he says basically, Jurassic World, not a fan. Me too, Malcolm. Me too. So the last 30 minutes, and as far as I know, I don't think you have that high an opinion of Fallen Kingdom, do you?
Not really.
Yeah.
The very end I thought was kind of like 70s disaster movie reminiscent.
Yeah. Or actually more like a monster movie, like Monster in a House kind of movie.
But it did sort of make me, think one way or the other of it.
Right. If you haven't seen my Fallen Kingdom review, I essentially said that the last 30 minutes of that was an overload of nostalgia, particularly to the first movie.
Oh, Fallen Kingdom?
Yeah.
Really?
Again, you haven't seen it in years, so you probably don't remember. But the last 30 minutes of this movie is essentially a version of the ending to part one. But given the context, it actually works pretty well, to be honest with you. And dare I say, maybe even just a little bit better given the situation. Certainly no raptors die, which is something I had an issue with. Whatever. Another interesting thing that I thought I'd mention, hour 57 minutes and 50 seconds, we get a slight revision as to Grant's study on raptors, which I found interesting. It's kind of indicative of JP3 in a lot of ways. And I'll let you folks, and even you too, figure out what that is. I personally think it's kind of interesting. And At 2 hours, 1 minute, and 7 seconds, I know I'm being very specific. It's just, cool stuff I've seen in this film, or interesting stuff. Yeah, we get a Max Steiner moment. That's all I'll say. We get a Max Steiner moment. And if this doesn't entice you to see Dominion, any of you, even you who are with me, my brother, Grant says to Sattler once everything is all said and done, "Are you all right?" And Sattler says, "Someday." That's a nice little thing, I thought, generally speaking. At 2 hours and 5 minutes and 41 seconds, I tell you, it's been a while since I've seen this particular movie. I don't have a copy of it with me here today, but there's that moment that everyone talks about. That's all I'll say, because I honestly don't remember what that moment was. I don't know if I have time to put it in post here as to what it was, but actually, maybe I do. Yes, upon reflection, I believe that moment that I was talking about, the 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 41 seconds, whatever it was the moment where the T-Rex sort of goes past a circular opening, and it sort of resembles the Jurassic logo. I don't know really why you'd think it would resemble the Jurassic logo. I'm sure it was intended to look like that, but unless that Rex has no skin, it's just a Rex going past a circular window. Really. But the fight at the end, yes, it does make more sense with the prologue. If you don't see the extended cut, you're thinking, okay, this isn't about us. Why isn't it not about us? Why are these creatures just fighting each other? It makes sense with the prologue, but yes, it does indeed still work. And, there were several ideas that were in place where even the Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3 was going to make a return in that scene. I honestly would like to have seen that, but you know what? It actually worked out pretty well, generally speaking. And for people who say there's no blood in this picture, look to the claws of the Therizinosaurus. And then talk to me. So, yes, at the end of this film, all the people who hated Jurassic Park 3 because, yes, Grant and Sattler were separated and she's married to this Mark fella now and they got children and such, by the end of this film, guess what? Grant and Sattler are now one. Yes. And the ending itself, the whole coexistence thing, at first I was kind of ambivalent towards it, to where, they really couldn't have ended it any other way, honestly. Yeah, considering the military and such and how they really could have just shot all these dinosaurs and made quick work of them, they couldn't have really done it any other way. But on reflection, the ending actually resembles the ending of The Lost World, where essentially Hammond is saying, if we could step aside and trust in nature, life will find a way. But instead here, it's kind of the same principle, but applied to a different mindset, to where let's just trust in nature and coexist, essentially. So we must learn to live with them, essentially. If we can't learn from our mistakes, we may as well live with them. In fact, you could probably even say that the military wiped out the dinosaurs even after the events of Dominion. But really, it sort of, kind of puts a warm feeling in your heart upon seeing this film, to where it's a good enough ending. Not necessarily a preferred ending, but it's okay, generally speaking. And I tell you, I mentioned how sort of Colin Trevorrow's experience on Star Wars and sort of his lack of involvement in it kind of informed this film, and how really most people were dissatisfied, generally speaking, with how many of the principal characters in Star Wars died in those new trilogy films. I don't know what you thought about that, generally speaking. Yeah, you were kind of on it. Right. I tell you, in this film, I didn't want any of these people to die. Not just the original cast, but the people who are in this new trilogy. I didn't want any of them to die. And I'm glad they didn't. I'm honestly glad they didn't. And really, yeah. So, final thoughts. In my estimation, and hopefully you'll come to understand this when you see it, whenever you plan to see it, if you plan to see it, it's a severely misunderstood entry in this series that gets far too much hate. A lot of people don't even really realize what it's doing, and what it's doing really kind of makes up for all of the misdeeds that have been committed by the franchise up to this point, to where people are saying, okay, this is just an extension of those misdeeds, this is the culmination of them, but really it's sort of like the rectification of them. And essentially it atones virtually for all the franchise's sins in one movie, and in my estimation serves as both a satisfying conclusion to the Jurassic saga, because originally it was supposed to be the conclusion to the Jurassic saga. That's what all the marketing said anyway, that, you know, this is the conclusion to the Jurassic era. And dare I say, it's a much better reunion of the original cast than that recent Super Bowl ad that they did this year, which was just creepy and bad. Oh my goodness, that was horrible. And as a result of that, I'm honestly going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Wonderful film, easily on a par with the original trilogy, and it kind of makes you forget all of the bad deeds that really any of these films ever committed, because it wipes the slate clean. It rights the wrongs of every entry leading up to it, and it seems as if that really after it, you don't really need anything after it, in the extreme. But apparently that was not the case, because we did get something after it. And I know you're not going to be joining me on tomorrow's review, I don't think, are you? But I know you've got some choice words to say about that particular entry. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I'll be talking about that tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching this review. I've had a lot of fun talking about these particular films in this series, and I cannot believe we're at this stage. Hopefully, this will convince you that, yes, Jurassic World Dominion is not only worth your time, but a worthy entry in the series, and really sort of the redeemer of it. And maybe, if my review has not changed your mind, watch the film for yourself and make up that decision. We're going to go ahead and pack up all of our beach materials and head home. Thank you very much for watching, and cheers. Say cheers.
Cheers.